Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is July 26th here on Common Ground, and you know what that means. The last Monday of the month. It's Glenn Terry time. Glenn Terry time. We got Glenn Terry with us today, like we do every last Monday of the month, and it's always a pleasure. So, if you remember from last time, we like to break up the show into three segments when Glenn Terry is here, and we break that up into business sections, parenting sections, and nonprofit sections. So you're gonna be hit with all kinds of great topics today. Why is it Glenn Terry today, and why are we talking about business, parenting, and nonprofits? Because he is an expert in business insurance.
Right on.
You are an expert in commercial insurance. Yeah, well,
am.
you are.
22
You're also
years.
an expert father.
Thank you.
You are a father of two, right?
Yeah.
One's going off to college, one's going into high school. And finally, you are highly active in Santa Clarita as a Rotary member and a nonprofit entrepreneur, for goodness sake. So this is Glenn Terry time. And we're so glad you guys are joining us here on this beautiful day. Here's to a great show, a great day, and a great week for all of us. Hi.
How's it going, Jason?
Feels
It's actually probably a month or
it probably
so
has
since
been.
I've
It has.
seen you and
You
talked
have
to
been taking some much needed time
Yeah.
off.
Yes.
I mean, I'll just say, I'll keep talking for you for just a moment,
No,
if
go
you'll
for it.
allow me. So you just came off of a solid year, nonstop work in the community as the Rotary Club president. And it was quite a year to be president, I have to say, because of obvious reasons. COVID, it was the most unusual year any of us have ever had. But you, I must say, handled it with extreme grace and innovation and determination, and I admire you for that. And I think you should be very proud of all that you accomplished. Actually, we should have brought the list of I mean, of all the accomplishments that you managed
We're
to.
past that. We're past that.
But I'm saying, man, you should be proud. I
You
was
know,
proud to work alongside you. That's for sure.
I am proud. Actually, it takes time for me. Sometimes people will find out, and maybe most people are the hardest critic on themselves, but that's typically me.
Yeah.
So I don't. I'm pretty humble when it comes to try to toot my horn. But it was a pretty incredible year. Definitely, blessed to get through it all. I'm pretty much taking a sabbatical at this point. It was like a recovery time. That's what this month has been. We have our new president, Dave Reeves.
Hmm.
He's doing a great job, and we have a huge amount of lineup of different stuff. Obviously, as you know, being the chair of the satellite club, so that's exciting. But all in all, I mean, yeah, it's just I'm just taking a break. Not too sunny out
What have
today,
you?
but man, I've been just
Well,
trying to enjoy the rays and get out and have fun.
a little respite today, I think, from the heat
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
sun, which is nice. But what have you been doing to relax?
Wow. Well, let's see. I mean, I've done just some family time. Really, it's just taking my kids. We've been camping. We've been doing some travels. Just rechecking back into some of the traditional things that I did when I was a kid. We did a lot of family stuff.
Hmm.
So my kids and I would just been spending more time together. And some people want to take off for Hawaii and international travels, and I want to go there. But right now with the two kids, that I'm pretty busy. I got one going into high school and another one going into college, so it keeps me
Yeah.
pretty local. And being almost practically, it's pretty much a single parenting job here that I've been doing, and just having the R&R together, hanging out, be at the softball fields at Bridgeport. We were actually just practicing softball with my daughter, and she
Nice.
brought a friend, and it was actually kind of cool. It kind of brought back all those years of my baseball. I want to try to mentor and coach and teach, and so
Is softball her sport? Have you guys?
she's going into high school with a practice.
Nice.
She's going to try out, and she hasn't been really playing, but she has played, and
You guys been
we'll see how
watching
she
the
goes.
Olympics together? Is
Yeah,
that it? Yeah,
it's been fun actually.
it has been fun.
U.S. is just there. Of course, it's rocking, and just so cool to watch it.
Well, you know what? I have some really fond memories of watching the Olympics, especially with my dad. That's what made me. You reminded me. It took me right back to 1984.
Yes.
One of the greatest. I mean, probably the earliest Olympics that you and I would remember
Yeah.
from that era, and it was an amazing one for the U.S. Took place in Los Angeles. Do you remember And
I
it was
went
the.
to a bunch of them.
Oh, you
Actually.
did. Oh, you
Yeah.
actually went. Oh,
I
wow.
was actually attending. I was fortunate to get my aunt's. My aunt was the one that I lived with. She was really at that time my mom that took care of a lot of the stuff for school and everything else. So she bought all these tickets that we got the chance to go out to some of the rowing and some of the sports and just to be involved with it.
Wow.
It was pretty wild. It was definitely cool. So she has this hat that she has all the old pins. They
Hmm.
used to collect pins, and there are all the different events and stuff. And so I have that hat in one of my rooms that just kind of displays the 1984 Olympics. And
That's awesome.
of course, with the Olympics right now, it just resonates all back again. So it's
And
pretty
are your
cool.
kids they're into it? You spend some time watching like
Yeah,
softball.
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to
Yeah,
watch the
I
softball.
mean, the softball's been good, but it's been more about me. It's the water. It's because of the
Mm.
whole background of the background. So,
Shall we get into the underwater hockey today? Or
sure, why not? Let's make it a twist here. What the heck is that?
underwater hockey. That should be an Olympic sport, I think. I mean, looking
Yeah,
at some of the crazy stuff that they've got going now, which is, I mean, it's all fun. I say crazy, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, water polo isn't that different than.
Super competitive sport. Athletes from all over the world. They represent all these different countries. It's no different. So they do have actually some Olympic type style events, like in the Philippines. They do have their own version of their Olympics with the underwater hockey.
Oh,
So there are some countries that do put this out there to invite other countries to come out. So the U.S. is, right now we do a nationals. We play nationals, and we play against different states, different
mm-hmm.
places, but we'll also do invitations from other parts of the world. Like we've had Colombia come out. We've had Canada. Canada brought 6 teams, and they just whooped our butts. I mean, they're so good.
So
These
they're good
people.
on the ice
They
and
are
underwater,
good. It's
right?
scary how good these players get, but
Wow.
it's exciting. It's a fun sport. But that's where I've been watching the Olympics. Is just a lot of the swimming, just the athletes. These guys are just so fit. The women and men. I mean, they're just amazing how they're graceful through the water and how they're built. Just built like machines. So it's pretty
And
neat to watch.
it has been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
I mean,
and actually we have a local Olympian. I haven't had a chance to follow her, but Abby Witzel, I think
what's her sport?
she is the 100 freestyle. If I
Oh,
remember
so she's a
correct.
swimmer.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
a swimmer. So I watched her trials, and she did really well, and she was picked to go to Tokyo. So I don't know how she's done so far, if she's still going or not. But
Hmm.
but other than that, it's exciting. We have a few other people from Santa Clarita that are Olympians. I've noticed on the volleyball, there's a Saugus player from. I'm trying to remember his name.
You
But
mean these Olympics?
these are
Or
Olympics.
oh,
Yeah,
wow.
these Olympics. We
Hmm.
have, I think, at least I know of 3. I think Olympians that are actually playing this Olympic.
Look at me.
Yeah,
I should be reading the local
it's
news a
pretty
little
cool.
more.
Yeah, our sports are pretty. I mean, we really have some really great athletes out here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But yeah, those are the breaks, man. I've been just taking a break from it, and my breaks are about going out and doing sports and spending time with my kids and just being active. And
Yeah.
it's just really my R&R, I guess.
Sounds fantastic to me. So, do you want to talk business for a minute then?
Well, we can. I mean,
We
I
got
think it's
pleasure
great.
out of
No,
the way, and
yeah, it was good. I like that.
we
I
can
mean,
talk business.
it was good to catch up on some of that, and we'll come back. I mean, because some of this
Oh, sure.
stuff is definitely directly related to the family, the parenting stuff that I want to point out, and that it's important hopefully to get the message out correctly. But yeah, business is really right now. I mean, this is my time to really just explain what I do in this community, and a lot of people maybe know me more for the community service that I do. And I'm just kind of a humbled person. I don't really go around talking much about it, but my number one thing here is business. I do business insurance. I've been in insurance industry for 22 years, and so I work really hard to keep building that because it provides a certain lifestyle that I need to provide for my kids and my family. And first started with working with an agency independently, and then I went on my own. I ran my agency for 17 years independently, and then merged my company 4 years ago with LBW Insurance and Financial Services, which has been I mean, it's crazy, 22 years now, and I'm like, it's a training ground. I'm learning all the time. The industry changes, it evolves.
So it's not, is it technology that's
You
changing,
know,
or
technology, but laws, just laws change. You know, the way that things are, contracts are written, verbiage, things become a little bit more. Just to you really just got to pay attention to the details and the specifics within your contracts and in your agreements. And so I've learned a lot of that with LBW Insurance, and how they really take the time with their business professionals, and how their agency is set up to manage and take an owner or a business from A through Z in a sense of how they go through the whole thing. So, and that's kind of what leads me into today's topic is really about business succession planning. And very few, I would say businesses really take the time to put together a set plan, which is succession, exit, and transfer. You don't really think about when you start your business what it looks like when you're finished with it. So a lot of people don't start there because they're wanting like, hey, I want to just get out and start building my business right now. But I've found that those that are really successful, businesses that have done really well, plan from the exit strategy. They look at their business of like, where do they see it 10, 20, 15, 30, whatever years
so at
down
what
the road.
stage ideally should a business be planning their succession and their exit strategy? Is that, I mean, you're saying you should start with that, or are you
That's
saying
exactly what I'm saying. Is where
wow?
you should sit with a professional. I come into the let's say the team, because there is really a team of professionals you need to work with. And one of the biggest ones that I worked with, that I know that when I was doing it on my own, it became almost prevalent that I was becoming my own tax person and financial person, and I was just doing too much of it and not doing the things that I was supposed to be doing, which is insurance. So I went out and brought in a bookkeeper, and that was basically referred to me by my CPA, and the CPA, along with that, I had that covered, and they were a big part of my team. The other is really attorneys, just legal, just having the right documentation, making sure you're sitting down at the beginning of your business to really plan ahead on how your business looks like, what the business plan is going to look like. Are you working the business plan? Are you going to need a buy-sell agreement if you have partners involved? These are all important things that you sit on the front end. And yes, it takes money to do these things, but I'll tell you, it'll save you years and years of headaches. And just really from where I come into on this part of it, besides the commercial insurance for businesses, I do all the liability, the property, but it's really the number one person, the key person in that business is the owner. What happens if the owner is no longer able to work, or what happens if the owner is no longer actually alive, passed on? And how is that being transferred, or how is that being, taken care of financially? So how are you funding that? So life insurance is a key component to where you do business planning, and you put in place life insurance policies that can help fund these types of successions, so you can pass on to your heirs if it's your kids, or if it's maybe a key employee. Maybe you have a superstar in your business that you want to pass on the business to, and you put them into a position as a key employee with life insurance. They'll actually give them some type of compensation to one, help them stay with you. At the same time, they have a buyout agreement to basically pay them off, and your business passes on either to part of your heirs or to the key employee. So life insurance is a big one, and that was my first thing when I found that the planning starts from the end for me. And I thought, okay, what happens when I'm no longer here? What do I need? So life insurance was the key thing for me, and so I started with that. And I bought my own insurance. I put my own life insurances in place. Sat with my attorneys, sat with my CPAs, got everybody involved, made sure I had my agreements put together, and that's really where I suggest that businesses should start. Is that thinking of the exit?
Sounds really smart, man. It also sounds like it goes against human nature, right?
Yeah.
We tend to not want to think about the end. We tend to want to be sort of, turn a blind eye to those sort of. So how do you convince people to sort of do the difficult thing, the better thing for their business, obviously, and personally, for goodness sake?
Sure.
How do you go about convincing them?
Sometimes it takes the time to to build the stories that are real. With me, it was the years that I came across actual business owners suffering through the fact that they didn't plan, but I didn't have to wait very long because I saw it in my own like family. We were business owners. We had businesses for 50 plus years, and some of those businesses, especially the one that was prevalent in our family, was manufacturing. And unfortunately, that business just dissolved and just went away. There could have been probably a lot
Because
of other.
succession hadn't been planned.
There wasn't the succession plannings, and I have this actually written in this book that I did a forwarding called Family Business Secrets. So I have a forwarding in here, and it talks a little bit about how that impacted, I think, the business that my family ran, and then I have another story of a business family member who really did the planning on the front end and really successfully did very well and was able to pass that on to the heirs in his family, which were my cousins. They were able to substantially obtain a huge nest egg to carry on that name and the business if they decided to work in it or not. And one of them still working in the industry. So yeah, it's just a very different stories. So some of that comes with experience personally, and then some of it comes from the time that I've spent with business owners where you've seen it firsthand affect them and impact their livelihood and their family and not have the plan. So that's a big, that's a definitely, a lot to take in and time, but it's, the professionals that I like to work with are those business attorneys. They really have the back end story that I partner up with that really kind of give you the meaning behind planning, with the exit strategy first, because there's just so many laws in place that you just don't know all those things that you're going to come up against, the taxes, the ramifications. So having those plans on the front end is so important. So, yeah.
So when you talk about life insurance, should a business be taking whole life policies on their key players? Because we've also, and we can touch on this too, but
Sure.
we've talked about protecting a board of directors or all the key players in a business as well. Because we just did that recently with Rotary, right?
Yeah.
Where you're protecting all the people in the organization basically. Sure. Those are two different things, but
Yeah,
anyway.
D&O directors and officers is different than what we're talking about. But life insurance, and again, it wouldn't be the proper thing to say whole life is your best fit, because right now I would have to be sitting in front of a business owner, really deep diving into their business to see what their business is about. So it's really just trying to get all the details of the business owner, what their plans are, long term, short term, and really do a business evaluation, and try to just really paint the scenario of what that may look like in the future for them, and know that we're using the right, let's say, product or tool to be able to accomplish their goals at the end.
Because you have so much experience, you can take each individual at
yeah,
where
everybody's going to come in
and,
different
yeah,
directions. I mean,
tailor.
some may have like a term life with a index, universal life mix. It could be both. It could be a whole life policy. There's all sorts of different ways you can plan with it, but it's definitely where, this is where let's say the wealthy stay wealthy. They plan with life insurance. They do this not in just business, but they do this in individual lifestyles too.
That's what I'm touching on with the whole life thing, because I
Sure.
keep hearing more and more how the wealthy use life insurance
Yeah.
to stay wealthy and perpetuate their wealth,
Yeah.
and pass it on, like you're saying.
It's
So,
basically it's an estate it's preservation. It's the way to preserve your estate.
and it's safe because it's outside banking.
Yeah, well, because one, you're using the form of life insurance as the way to fund it. So lots of people take out, trusts, and again, I don't want you to, because I'm not an attorney. I'm not advising as an attorney. I'm not advising as a tax.
Again, it comes down to the individual.
CPA. But the point is that what is it being funded with? You're either going to decide to sell a property or dip into your savings account or dip into your 401k to pay for something if that's what you need to do. As a family member, if you're managing the family's business or whatever, but to avoid that and to keep the wealth and to continue where that was left off at, they use that with the compensation or have it funded by life insurance. and so that way the families, you know, their whole wealth just keeps growing. And
Because
it's
you're
how
not
they pass
dipping
it
you're
on.
not dipping into principal.
Correct.
Like you said, you don't have to dip into 401ks or savings,
Correct.
etc. And the other thing about that, if I'm not mistaken, is that the money you borrow from a life insurance policy, it's still accruing its yield. Is that correct?
Dividends.
Dividends.
Yeah.
Even if you've taken money, if you've borrowed money
Yeah. Whole life does
on
that.
it.
It grows
Is
off of the
that-
dividends, the interest that it's earned on it, but the dividends too depends on the companies. But again, without
but
going into
for the whole amount is my point.
yeah, I mean,
So if you got $1 million in there, right? You can still borrow some, but it's accruing the dividends as if the $1 million is still in there.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, there's just a lot of moving parts and components that, without diving into product,
Anyway, yeah.
but the importance
I've
of
just been
it
reading a
is
lot
to
about that
sit
lately.
with somebody to plan ahead.
Exactly.
If it's not me, okay,
Should be. It
should be
you.
me, but no, but seriously, then business owners really should be looking at the front end about how they look at their exit strategy first and plan from that.
That's Glenn Terry. Why? Because it's Glenn Terry time today on Common Ground. I'm Jason Downs here with Glenn Terry. Stay with us because the next segment is all about parenting, and we're going to touch on some important stuff like addiction. So stay with us right here on KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
It's a hit. Audiences are loving the hilarious Sweet Surrender, playing now through August 15th at the Canyon Theater Guild. This love letter to the classic farces of the 30s and 40s has it all. Hollywood divas, hapless bellhops, scheming fans, mistaken identities, double entendres, and a lapdog named Mr. Boodles. Don't miss this super fun comedy. For tickets, call 661-799-2702 or visit canyontheater.org.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
When was the last time you had a business insurance checkup? That long, eh? It's most likely Glenn Terry time for you and your business. Glenn Terry has been a Santa Clarita resident since 1980 and has deep roots in the community. 22 years in the insurance industry, a trusted commercial insurance specialist with LBW, licensed in 50 states. There's nobody I'd trust more. Call Glenn Terry today and set up your free business insurance checkup at 661-702-6005. Glenn Terry sticks to the mission, not the co-mission. Yeehaw!
Your hometown station, KHTS.
And we're back. Welcome. This is Common Ground. I'm Jason Downs, and today, the last Monday of the month, is Glenn Terry time. That's why we got Glenn Terry in the studio with us today. We're talking business, we're talking parenting, we're talking nonprofits, and it's always a pleasure, man. Good friend, mentor,
Maybe
all
not-
around, but
Not to do. Don't do this.
no. Anyway, love that conversation about insurance. So
it's
important, and
great.
I think people should absolutely reach out to you. Where can they get a hold of you? What's the easiest way?
Best number is the office number, so 661-702-6005.
702-6005.
That is correct.
Okay, and they can have a consultation with you. Is there a charge for that, or is it okay?
Free for consultation, advice. Again, like I said, I'm offering this out to the community. If it's just even suggestions or help, and if you already have a broker or an agent you're working with, it's really not my approach to muddy the water. Let's say you don't need too many
cooks in the kitchen. Jinx.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I know that obviously, you want to make money and you're very good at what you do, but I also know you have a big heart and ultimately you want what's best for all parties involved. So,
It comes back, my friend.
that's right.
That's
That's
what it's
right.
about.
And speaking of coming back, I mean, being a parent, you can say that often about
Yeah.
being a parent. It comes back.
Sometimes more than you want.
I'm thinking of my poor parents. It's now it's finally coming back to kick me in the butt. No, I mean, we have great kids.
Yeah.
I mean that's the
Yeah.
thing of it too. We have great kids.
We do.
Very lucky. But I know something's on your heart today that you've been wanting to talk about.
Yeah.
So tell us what's
Well, I mean, I
what's
think
on your mind.
just it's this time of the show, I kind of really like to dive into the kind of the parenting, and I'm gonna repeat it. I mean, again, for this is kind of really a reach out to those that maybe single parenting. It could be the dad or the mom. I've been, not so much. I hate to take the title as single parent because I'm not, in a sense, completely alone. I mean, their mom is around. But there is just a point in time where you do feel like you're just carrying all the torches and you're just trying to make all ends meet and you're just working your butt off to try to manage all that
Well,
and I don't know, for the
you
most
are
part,
the primary parent.
yeah, I mean my kids live with me primarily. So I do a lot of time. I spend a lot of time with them to just kind of the good times, the bad times. I mean, it goes with it every single day. So like right now, I mean, I have a lot going on my plate with my kids, and my son's going off to college, so he's going to Grand Canyon University. Go Lopes! For those that don't know, the Lopes. So it's actually quite exciting, but scary at the same time. I mean, he is man, he's a poster child to me. I mean, he's kind of been my Superman, my rock, and he has been through a life of medical stuff. This kid has been through so much. I mean, brain surgery at 3.
Oh.
He's basically diagnosed what is called Sturge-Weber syndrome, which is a neurological disorder to the brain. He is now currently monitored under epilepsy specialists at UCLA, and he still has occasional seizures. And they thankfully haven't gone to the Grand Mall anymore for now, knock on wood, but it's been a journey. But man, that kid is just resilient and so accomplished. I'm so proud of him. He's gravitated towards something that I've really probably had pulled away from for a while, which is something new that I think I just want to put a reach out to the Real Life Church. Has been something that they're locally here, and I know they have other churches in the valley as well as another one in Canyon Country, but the one in Valencia, and just people there. My son has really gravitated towards the young adult side, where they're kids that are college kids, and I say kids, they're young adults. He's 18, so still kid. Call him my kid. But it's just great seeing him be accepted and to be part of something. And in his senior year of high school, he really blossomed. I mean, he was the president of Circle of Friends, which is an all-inclusive, with kids with disabilities to be included. So here he was. He started as a peer partner at freshman year, all the way to his senior year. He became president of the club. Just awesome. He picked up, by the way, the guitar in between that, sign language in between that.
Oh wow!
So I'm waiting for his book to be released. But so yeah, it's just a proud time. This has been exciting, but I'm also scared. There's a lot of fear of letting go. I guess you can call that helicoptering as a parent, but I have some rightful reasons between the medical stuff. And so right now we're working on researching for canine dogs. Is one of the cool things that he's looking into right now is a service dog, and that might be a really good emotional support for him as well as purposes of safety.
Meanwhile, he's off at college. You
Yeah,
can
so
have
we're looking into that. That might
great.
take a good year to just get through it, but so we're doing a bunch of research on that right now. So that's my son. then my daughter,
Mhm.
she's 13, going in. She's gonna be 14 coming up, and she's gonna be a freshman in high school. And I just like went, oh my God, what? Where did this time go? So it's been incredible, and so yeah, she's really excited about trying to start softball, and she's talking about Fire Academy, which is after school, and she's an avid skateboarder, and
Nice.
you know I never thought I'd be a parent having to monitor my kid at the skate park. You know, back in my day, the skaters were not really the ones that you wanted your kids to hang out with.
Hey, it's an
but
Olympic sport
I
now.
love
That's what
them.
I'm saying.
I love them.
mean,
Shout out to skaters. You
that's
know,
right,
they're on the
dude.
Olympics, and yeah, it was cool to
off
watch
the
them
wall,
too.
bro.
And she has done quite well with it. She's met her friends, a bunch of friends from that, going to Six Flags and summertime, and you know, just watching her just grow into this young lady. And again, it's just it's scary, you know. But I gotta let her go too. You know, you gotta let her grow. And she surprised me with this letter. She wrote me a letter and texted it to me. It was a long letter, and it finally got to the very end of the point of it. And she wants to tell me that she has a boyfriend at 13, and I'm like,
Oh.
whoa, wait a minute. So I'm like, hold up, you mean friend, right? Who's a boy? So that's where I'm at right now in this complicating
yeah.
world of mine, and so yeah,
Wow.
Dad's having conversations. Dad's trying to get them to church. You know, Dad's trying to balance life. It's it's wake up, eat, get going, go to school, do all this is going to be happening again really soon. August is right around the corner. That's a whole other concern we got. You
A
know,
lot
what's
of-
going to
yeah.
happen with my kids while they're at school. You
A
know,
lot
with
of
everything.
different feelings about returning to school
Yeah.
for kids and parents.
Yep. Yep.
Which we can talk about, but I know that you have something else on your mind too, and that is addiction, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the stories that have got your mind?
Well, I mean, I think we could try to. I'll dive into it just a little bit because I think I want to share the other part of the time we have to go into those more specific. But you know, some of the things that I've kind of come across is just it could be just lying. You know, there's things about compulsiveness. You know, my daughter's not really telling me everything, and she then tells me something where it finally comes out after like a bunch of times I got to ask her, and she's just got that fear factor of talking to me. And, so there's some challenges there that I know as a parent, as a single parent, you're worried about her hiding some stuff and maybe what she may be doing or may not be doing. So,
that's a real concern. I
it-
rely on my wife a
it's
lot for that. So
huge.
what's
Huge.
your advice? What have you found that works?
You
in
know,
that?
I think for me, because again, I'm the only person I'm bouncing this stuff off mainly, is that it's just being patient. I mean, I had to be really patient with her especially this weekend. It was kind of when it happened, and I started talking to her, and I just realized that okay, wait a minute, let me just take a break. I don't need to hammer it home all in one day. So we took the weekend and really just kind of let it soak in, and then Sunday we spent the time.
I admire that. It's so hard for men to be patient. I
Oh,
think
man.
often.
I wanted to unload and let it all out.
I mean, that's one of the things I deal with most is
Yeah.
just being patient.
Yeah, that's been the number one thing I found that is take a step back, and don't judge so quick. She's got her own life going on, and I know that all in all, she's a good person. I know she's got a good heart, and I think it's just a matter of her trying to find her way. And there's all these complications. We got divorce involvement. You got separation of home anxiety. You got school pandemics, not having social contact. I mean, there's tons and tons of stuff that's going on. And so the last thing I needed or want to do is just add to that. But I do want to find out, I'm not going to just let it rest there. And so I had to sit her down and talk to her personally, really with, some authority and just let her know that this is, definitely a concern. And I don't want this to be something you lead with in your life and that you're afraid to talk. And I mean, here she was, one hand gives me this wonderful letter, which I was proud of her to write it. And guess what I did? Actually, I corrected it. I put it all back in red ink, and I corrected her letter and
Oh,
sent
wow.
it back to her.
Oh, wow, that was a bold move.
But I put it back in another letter, and I wrote my own story on it and gave her my twist about what I felt like she could be doing and where she is, and I'm supporting her. And it's not that I agree with it. But I did need to take the time to think about it and take the
And are
time.
we talking about drugs? Are we talking about
No,
boyfriends?
not in that sense. My daughter, not so much in there, but I've come across some friends that, this has been some issues with them, with their kids, and their teenagers, same age group about with my daughter. And, so drugs have been an issue. Especially, I think in that teenage time where you're experimenting and you're trying to figure things out. And, so that's really on my mind. I mean, my daughter, being, she's kind of just trying to be out there to learn, but here she is wanting to not tell me something, not the truth on one thing. Makes me wonder, is there other stuff that she could be hiding? And not that I don't think she's doing these things.
At
but
the same time, I mean, like you say, it is natural. It is healthy for them to start being their own person and experiencing some autonomy and
Yeah.
and pushing against a parent.
Yeah.
It's actually natural. It's not what we want. It doesn't feel natural to us. But I mean, this is the age-old question of how to deal with this sort of thing, because our first and foremost instinct is protect them at all times.
Yep.
And we've also learned through the evolution of parenting that that's not always the best approach. So what do you do with that natural instinct? And you have your brain has to somehow take over and say, okay, I need to, be patient. Like you said,
Yeah.
be patient, take a step back, take a breath, give them a little space and breathe myself for a
Right.
minute and try and see
Right.
how best to, approach this situation. And I mean, I don't think men are always good at doing that anyway, but
I fall forward most of the time. So.
no, exactly. But that is the biggest challenge. I feel like,
For sure.
especially as they are. I mean, our kids are basically the same age almost. As they enter these years as teenagers, and when they're supposed to be
Right.
pushing
Right.
against us a little bit and finding their
Yeah,
own space.
in a way, and I love that about her independence, her ability to be, independent. She's strong that way. She really holds the, I think in a sense of that is probably her major quality, that she can be very strong and independent and do things on her own. And I love that, but it scares the heck out of me too at the same time. Because there is, this world is pretty big and a lot of things are going on. Social media is a huge outlet, and of course, I've added to it phones and things that she's got access to. But I'm not going to be a parent that's sitting back and not letting her kind of evolve into what the world is today. And I think she's going to get into that point where she comes across it. I guess my point is this: is my whole thing is just really about as a single parent or a parent that is just trying to make the ends meet, and where you're just so busy with everything on your plate. And this is even for parents that have parents that are both multiple parents. I mean,
Yeah.
their plates are full. I mean,
Yes.
they're full. And it's easy to just put those things aside and not stop and take your time to really
So true.
learn about it.
So
and
true. I
understand
mean,
it.
I feel guilty quite often for not spending more of that quality time. I mean, that's a constant struggle as well. And
Right.
just okay, how hands-on do I need to be? The presence. Obviously, I'm the stay-at-home parent
Right.
at this point. My wife got to stay home the first 10, 11 years of their lives, and then we switched roles because she was ready to sort of get back out into the world. And I mean, it's a constant struggle. That balance between giving them their space, but also being present and spending time, and so it's a constant dance.
Yeah. And I think the last part of that is spend time by yourself.
Mm.
Because if you're not healing yourself in that process, and that was really the last month for me, has just been kind of, like I said, recheck back in with myself and kind of know who I am and where I've been and what's going on in my life. And, so there's a lot. But yeah,
There's got to be something in your cup.
If you don't do that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous because you are definitely, you're almost just kind of going in there with guns blazing. It's not good. So definitely check in with yourself. Take the time, just take those moments one day at a time, and but that's mainly it. The main things are just those things, but I'll save the other part because there's just been some really hot topics on the drug use, the addiction, and just really, other stuff, sexual addiction, pornography, just all this stuff is just really at our fingertips, and it's just it's a time to kind of just make sure we're reflecting and looking back and making sure we're understanding all these things. So,
Well, we'll look forward to having that conversation. Sounds like a difficult one, but an important one. So we're here with Glenn Terry. Why? Because it's Glenn Terry time every last Monday here on KHTS. This is Common Ground. Stay with us because we're going to talk a little bit more with Glenn when we come back right here on KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
When was the last time you had a business insurance checkup? That long, eh? It's most likely Glenn Terry time for you and your business. Glenn Terry has been a Santa Clarita resident since 1980 and has deep roots in the community. 22 years in the insurance industry, a trusted commercial insurance specialist with LBW, licensed in 50 states. There's nobody I'd trust more. Call Glenn Terry today and set up your free business insurance checkup at 661-702-6005. Glenn Terry sticks to the mission, not the co-mission. Yeehaw!
Hey, Gary, how are things?
Things are great, but I crushed my mortgage payment with Owning without even leaving my couch. I got a refi at a great low rate, and Owning did it all in less than 3 weeks. It was easy, no muss, no fuss.
Be like Gary. Call Owning at 833-2-OWNING and crush your mortgage payment with today's 15-year fixed refi at 1.5% rate, 1.912% APR. That's right, 15-year fixed at 1.5% rate, 1.912% APR. Even if you've refinanced recently, call 833-2-OWNING and let us crush your monthly payment even more.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions. Equal housing lender.
You can crush it too with a 15-year fixed, 1.5%, 1.912% APR refi.
That's 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com.
Loss of hearing can affect the quality of life. Santa Clarita Hearing Center can help. They specialize in both preventative hearing loss and corrective measures, including diagnostic tests, new technology hearing aids, cochlear implants, hearing protection, and tinnitus treatment. They can adjust your current hearing aids or fit you for new ones. Santa Clarita Hearing Center also offers sleep molds, swim molds, and musician monitors. Book an appointment today. Log on to SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com. Located on McBean Parkway next to the hospital. That's SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Hometown. Your hometown station.
Monday of the month, which means it's Glenn Terry time.
You just love saying that, don't you?
It's Glenn. I almost feel like I want to do a Adrian
twang.
Cronauer kind of thing, like a good. It's Glenn Terry time. Yeah. So
love it. Love it.
Did I just blow out the?
Patty's like, no.
Patty's taking his earphones off quickly, and his face is all beet red, and
his hair's standing on top of
his
his
eyes
head.
are bleeding. Okay, so anyhow, it's been a great conversation today with Glenn Terry, and give us the number again where people can get in touch with you for your expertise.
661-702-6005.
661-702
6005.
6005. All right, so we like to break up the show into three basic segments, right? We talk about business, which was great. We talk parenting, which was great. And now let's talk a little bit about nonprofits.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something important to you as well, obviously, as a person who gives so much of himself to the community through the Rotary Club and through different charities and through different nonprofits. And someone who's, I think, starting a nonprofit himself, right?
We keep saying
In the
that,
process, right?
I'm in the process, yeah. For
So
sure it'll
what's
happen.
what's on your heart today about?
Well, I mean, I wanted to take the halfway point of our conversation that we were talking about the kids and stuff like that. In this topic, really, I mean, it probably can relate to just people in general as parents, or if it's your children. But you know, just addictions in general. And where are you going to get this help, and what are you doing about it? And I'll tell you, I mean, it could come down to the simple thing of being just depression. Depression's definitely a huge problem in society. You know, we talked about drug use. We talked about there's sexual addictions. There's all sorts of different types of addictions, and that play a huge part in our role as humans, as people. And I just kind of, you know, I spend the time right now a lot with trying to figure out ways, one, to be the best parent I can for my kids. So I do a lot of giving back, and I do a lot of service, because I feel that's my outlet, or that's my responsibility as a person, that I do more for others than I do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way to be there for people. If it's just being, you know, a communication to somebody, a friend, or if it's you know, going to seek the help myself through professionals. So, you know, this time I wanted to kind of spend this part of the show more on, you know, some outlets to where you go and how you can get some of the help for certain things. I mentioned earlier, real life church was kind of been a big thing for me lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I put, you know, let's say I think church I put off for quite a while. It wasn't really a outlet for my kids and I. And it was very early on. I was in church all the time when I was a kid, and you know, just my grandparents were really big on that, and I just saw the whole thing about family and how important it was, and it came around full circle to me. Here I am, you know, bringing
So
my
you're a
kids
fairly
back.
new member at Real Life?
Yeah,
or-
no,
yeah.
I've been listening online for quite a while, probably for the last 8 months or so. And then the last 4 Sundays and Thursdays, we've been attending in person, and it's quite nice. I mean, they have a very different type of approach of how, you know, they deliver the message, and, you know, how people are gathering together in the community, and through music, and, you know, and just in quoting off of scriptures in the Bible and stuff. And so those are just been things I put off, let's say, for a long time. I haven't really been spending that kind of time with, which is how I was brought up. And I got to admit, you know what, it's been interesting. The last few weeks, 3-4 weeks, I've seen some huge differences in my life. There's been some major
Really?
changes.
Like what?
Yeah, just, I
If
mean,
you don't mind my
no.
asking.
Well, one being just, you know, again, I think I'm more patient with my kids. You know, I'm really spending more time with them, like trying to, you know, give some, you know, time to give to my kids to, you know, just really just enjoy those days. And a friend of mine told me you know, I should be dating my daughter, you know, like in a way, like as a dad would take their daughter out to spend more time with her, because, you know, she's at that point in her life where she's going to go replace it with something else. Hence the friend who's a boy. So
He who shall not be named.
you know, so it's really a matter of just you know, those qualities, and just also meeting a new friend, you know, someone that I've really have gotten to know very close now, and still long ways away, but at the same time, you know, she's become pretty special, and somebody that's you know, I think it's kind of opened my heart to understand more, and to be patient, and to not rush into things, and to take it slow, and to kind of learn more about who I am, and not so much about you know, diving into a new relationship or anything like that. So it's just, you know, it's been nice. It's refreshing. It's actually something I'm really excited about, and it's definitely something that's rubbed off on my kids and my family time, and, you know, so it comes back. So for sure. So, and I think it all started with, again, like I said, going to church and just really taking the time to take you know, the steps that I needed to take to recoup from things. So, but there was some messages in between all that, and I wanted to talk about, there was some friends of mine that basically encountered even scarier things than I have. And one of them where her son almost pretty much OD'd on drugs, and she basically didn't know where he was at. He's in a car, basically in another part of the town. She had to use her phone to do a locator to locate where he was, and apparently this area is pretty well known for drug use. It's not in our area, thankfully, in Santa Clarita, but the area that she was at, there's apparently a pretty big drug problem, and her son happened to be in the area, and but he OD'd laying into the car. The cars were locked up. The car doors were locked up. She couldn't get in the car. She was spending like 20 minutes, 15 minutes trying to break the window. People were trying to break the window.
Oh my goodness.
It was heart-wrenching, the story that she's telling me about how she had to go through this. And her son, he basically went through some medical issues. That he's had a stroke, and he's rehabilitating himself back, and he's going through rehab and all this stuff. But to hear her story, oh my God, I just it just shocks me to just my soul. Like, Glenn, get on the path of just knowing, I want to be ahead of this. I don't want to. But you just never know where this is going to come from. And
well, but like you were saying, it does start with communication or lack thereof. So as long as you're trying, you're checking in, you care, even when they don't and they're resisting.
Right.
Then hopefully you can pick up the signs. So that's about all we have time for today.
All right.
Glenn Terry time is over for this this month, but please tune in next month and we'll continue this conversation. And
sounds good.
Like I say, it's always a pleasure. Tell us one more time where we can reach out to you for some insurance consultation.
Yep, just call my number. The office number is 661-702-6005.
And as always, we'd like to thank the amazing staff here at KHTS, our engineers today, Patty Suika and Emily. Emily, this is the second time Emily's been helping us out, so thank you so much. Pleasure to have you on Common Ground for Glenn Terry time, where we can always agree on the important stuff and more. I'm Jason Downs. You're listening to KHTS. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed.